Hey everybody, I'm Yeka. I'm here with Devin. She's going to share her success story with us. Hey Devin, how's it going? Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. And so I just wanted to ask, what was your health like before you started the carnivore diet?
So before I started carnivore, I actually was keto first. All my life, I mean, as far as I can remember, I've dealt with a lot of different health issues. The one that brought me to keto was migraines. Well, it started migraines. I've suffered from chronic migraines and headaches all my life. My mother had them, so we assumed it was genetic.
Mhm.
A particular migraine sent me into the hospital one day. It was very debilitating. The doctor that I was under his care was worried that it could be meningitis. I didn't have a fever or anything, so I really wasn't worried about that. I tried to explain I have migraines, and but he insisted on doing a spinal tap. He did the spinal tap, gave me, I believe, Demerol, which was amazing because it made that go away. I went home and went to bed, and I was fine. When I woke up in the morning, uh, laying down, I was perfectly fine, no pain. As soon as I sat up, it felt like my skull was crushing my brain. And then when I would lay back down, it would stop. So I was very confused. I had no idea what was happening. But it turns out that the spinal tap that I had was, I don't know if it was done incorrectly, or I guess there was just a chance of it happening, but I ended up having a spinal leak. So when all the spinal fluid was leaking out of my skull, my brain was resting right on my skull. So when I would sit up, it would be like it was crashing onto a skull, which caused lesions. And a few months later is when my seizures started.
Wow.
So in the beginning, I maybe had one or two a year. Um, they started to increase. I started having maybe four or five a year. And then in 2016, I was having three or four a month. So they were increasing. I went to the doctor. Of course, she was concerned and said I should go on to anti seizure medication because it's obviously just progressing. And I looked at all the side effects for said medications, and I really didn't want to be on this for the rest of my life. My niece was born with birth defects, and she has multiple seizures every day. And a year before, I had remembered that their doctor had put her on a ketogenic diet. She has a G tube, so she gets fed through that. But I hadn't heard of this diet before, so I look into it. I put the prescription on my dresser. I'm not going to fill it yet. And I talked to my husband about this ketogenic diet. And he basically laughed at me and said, "It's snake oil. Devin, you can't stop seizures from your diet." And I said, "I'm going to try it for 30 days and see what happens. And if not, I'll fill my prescription." So 30 days went by and I didn't have a seizure. And he's like, "It's a fluke. Don't get your hopes up, you know." And I said, "I'll try it for 30 more days. And if not, I'll fill a prescription." So March will be 4 years and I'm still doing my 30-day experiments and I'm still seizure free.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So the way I went into carnivore is when I first started doing keto, um, I'm very plain with my food. I can eat the same meal every day as long as it's easy to prepare. So I was eating a lot of like lunch meats, cheese, eggs, bacon. Well, about a year into it, my husband decided he wanted to jump on board and try keto. So I made him kind of the same things that I was making, and he almost went into a state of depression. I can't have ice cream anymore. I can't have cookies anymore. Like, and I felt bad because, you miss those things. So I got every keto cookbook that was ever made, and I started making homemade ice cream, cookies, pizza. He would name a topic, and I would be like, I can make it keto. So then I started eating these things too. So another issue that I have suffered with my entire life is a horrible stomach. Uh, I'm pretty sure I put Elk Seltzer in business because every time I would eat, Elk Seltzer would be directly after it because I would have horrible pains and chronic constipation. Like before keto, I would go maybe once every 7 days. I think my longest stint was 12 days. It was pretty awful. Yeah. So once I started keto, it was much better. It wasn't like an everyday thing, but it was better. So, but then he started keto. I started eating more fibers and stuff like I was before keto. And I just started having a massive amount of problems. Like, again, the constipation started, not so much the stomach pains, but the headaches were starting again, which I was confused about. And then I started getting what's called auras. It's what happens like right before your seizures. And they were different than my auras before. And it was like, it almost felt like my skin was crawling. I was up all night. I was sleeping maybe 1 or 2 hours a week. I was pacing floors. I thought, that's it. Keto stopped working for me. It was a short run, and this is going to be it, you know. So at that point, I had gotten a keto coach because I'm like, maybe I'm doing something wrong, you know. So she started with me, started asking me about my macros. I kind of blankly stared. I hadn't counted macros. I mean, if it's keto, it's okay to eat, right? You know. So she asked me if I was doing total or net carbs, and again, I have no idea. I mean, like, my dad's an aerospace engineer, but this apple fell very, very far from that tree. So I just assumed if I was eating keto, I was safe. So we figured that out. And when I went to total carbs and she wanted me to do under 10, I became very aware that I couldn't really eat a lot of vegetables or do the sweeteners anymore. So problems started lifting again. I wasn't eating a lot of fibers. I wasn't doing a lot of sweeteners. I was pretty much carnivore. So she had mentioned, she had heard through the grapevine that people were doing this carnivore thing. Maybe I should try for 30 days, see what happens, and then maybe start slowly adding stuff back in. So I did it. I actually lost weight, which on keto I never did. And then all my stuff started lifting. The headaches were gone. I was going to the bathroom every single day. I know that's too much information, but that's never happened in my entire life. I'm 40, and that's never. So I was excited about that. Those nerve pains and the skin crawling stopped. I was sleeping better, and just everything started getting better. And then when I started adding stuff back in, I would notice where the problems would start and what foods were doing it. Anything with fiber.
Yeah. And so when you first started doing carnivore, what kind of foods were you eating?
I mean, mostly ground beef because it was easier for me. A lot of eggs, a lot of bacon. I really wasn't delving into like weird things.
Right.
I didn't really know. I'm not a great cook, so I figured it just had to be easy and sustainable for me to do. But I mean, since the weirder the better.
That's awesome. And so other than, then having the issues with reintroducing foods, did you have any issues with carnivore, like as far as what you were eating?
No, not really. I mean, I keep trying new things and I realize certain textures I don't like or whatever. Like I tried the raw suet and I just can't do it. I keep trying.
I know, yeah.
But like certain things like that. But I like the variety. I have like a few staples. Your carnivore bread, or I lovingly call it chicken bread, is in everything. Certain staples I have just to change textures a little bit and, make it feel like I'm not just eating meat has helped.
Yeah.
I mean.
Awesome. And so now that you've been carnivore for a little while, what are the benefits that you've noticed other than, I know you said no seizures.
Right. I mean, thankfully, even when I was having trouble with the keto, the seizures haven't come back. So I'm still almost 4 years seizure free, which is really great. But the headaches definitely gotten a lot better. My regularity has gotten a lot better. Even my hormones, like I feel better. My cycles are so easy, which never was my whole life. Just overall, I just feel better.
That's awesome. Awesome. Great. Well, thanks so much for sharing.
No problem. Thanks for having me.